Fifi Fiabikwete, all then present. For a lot of us, the shabbing is still continuing, nonetheless.
You're still on TV3. This is News Central, and what you're seeing on your screens are images from the precincts of Parliament where the leadership of the NDC are about to present their petition to the leadership of Parliament. Eric Mauna-Egbeta is leading the team there, and a few minutes ago he gave indications that he could see the majority leader who is in the person of Alexander Afenyo-Markin, the clerks of Parliament, and then also we are expecting to see maybe, just maybe the Speaker of Parliament himself will be there. But even if we do not have the Speaker, definitely some leadership from Parliament will be meeting with the leaders of the NDC to take the petition that they intend presenting to Parliament. He mentioned that Fifi Fiabikwete, and then also we saw Sami Jemfi a few minutes ago, and the chairman of the party, Johnson Esiedu-Nketia. They are all there to do what they set out to do right from the onset this morning. We also are keeping very close tabs on developments at the premises of the Electoral Commission, where we earlier told you that the security there, the police officers there, have been beefed up. They've sent more officers to help with activities at the premises of the Electoral Commission. We'll bring you those footages shortly. But it looks as though, as we are talking to you this very moment, what you're seeing on your screens are the media trying to make their way through the thick crowd to the specifics of where the leadership of the NDC are to receive, to give their petition as well.
Indeed, we want to take you to the National Office of the Electoral Commission now. Beatrice Edu is there for us. Beatrice, we see all the police officers behind you. I cannot even count at the moment because it all looks very black. I can imagine the numbers that have been, included or added to the original numbers that were there already. But talk us through the increase.
I wouldn't say that I'm able to hear you clearly, but if you can see the footage in there, the protesters have arrived here. The police officers want to be sure that they are able to control the huge crowd that has arrived at the Electoral Commission headquarters. As you can hear them there, but I can't really hear you because of the noise in the background.
Right, so you do go ahead. We actually can see what you're showing us, where the protesters are behind you. There's a barricade, and then also there's a space. So you are in between where the protesters have been barricaded and where the leadership of the demonstrators will be allowed to enter. We also saw the police officers who have been deployed. So these are the armed officers, or at least they are wearing protective gear, riot police officers probably for better description, and the regular personnel have also been sent there just so they don't seem to
I mean, I wonder, Beatrice, how many more police officers have been brought there? It would appear Beatrice cannot hear us. Yes. But Beatrice, if you could just give us a quick report. If you can hear me now, perhaps you can give us a quick report on what you can see at the moment. But listen, she told us earlier that the protesters were closed. If you can see those flags, you can see those banners and the red caps and red shirts. Those are the protesters. The black you see are the police officers who have formed a human barrier just before the protesters get to the offices of the Electoral Commission. Remember that the explanation we got earlier was there was a two-step, barricade or barrier before you get to the offices of the Electoral Commission, and that's what we see. The first one being the human barrier. After the beefing up of security, we see a longer and a thicker human barrier created at the Electoral Commission, where executives of the NDC will be allowed through, then to go through the metal barricade as well, before delivering their petition to the Electoral Commission. The reason they are not there at the moment is they are at the Parliament, where they are also delivering a petition to the Speaker of the House. But live pictures right now on your screen, visuals from the area around the Electoral Commission's head office here in the Greater Accra region. The police have increased their numbers there. Beatrice reported earlier 3 buses had come there with more police personnel, hoping to ensure law and order as the petitioners, the protesters and their leadership get close to the Electoral Commission. They seem to be forming something there at the moment. The formation, it would appear that there are 3 human barriers, yes, even before you get to 3 lines of human barriers, excuse me, even before you get to the metal barrier, and they are hoping that the protesters will not push them back. Yes. I don't know if you get the sense of a little bit of a pushback. You can tell from the, the posture or the way the police people are standing behind each other, that they want to ensure that the protesters cannot break that human barrier and then move on to the metal barricade. And there also seem to be some engagement between the police officers and the protesters who have already reached there. Remember, we were telling you that the leadership, much of the leadership of the NDC are in Parliament, where they are delivering a petition. Eric Mawanek brought us that now. I am guessing, Martin, that a few of them have also come with the protesters to this point. But obviously, the protesters, like we saw in the hands-off demonstration, the protesters could not agree with the police officers that they couldn't go beyond the human barrier. They couldn't go beyond the points where the police needed them to be so that their executives will be there. What happened with that was that the executives of the party then came in and ensured that the protesters were calm. And we're hoping that the same thing is going to happen here, because obviously there's some sort of engagement going on between the police and the protesters. Yes,
we do not know what exactly the agreement between the leadership of the demonstrators were prior to getting here, which is the premises of the Electoral Commission, because you would assume that since the leadership of the demonstrators are in Accra, I beg your pardon, since the leadership of the demonstrators in Accra are currently in Parliament, you would assume that the protesters or the demonstrators would have also been there with them in at the premises of Parliament. Then from Parliament, they would follow their leaders to the Electoral Commission premises, unless maybe the original idea is that one team would go to Parliament, another would go to the Electoral Commission office. But from indications and from what we are seeing right now, a group of the demonstrators are already at the offices of the Electoral Commission, and they are trying to, well, the police there is trying to ensure that they stay at a particular place. They are calm, nothing untoward happens, while they wait for the leaders who are, I'm sure, by now ready to present the petition to the leadership of Parliament. That may not have been coordinated well from where I sit, unless what I'm saying is contrary to what we are seeing. But from the visuals we've gotten from our reporters, some people have already arrived at the EC office, and that's what is on your screen right
Indeed.
now. One is waving the NDC flag, and you can tell above the heads of the police officers, there are a group of demonstrators there. I'm just hoping that calm will prevail between both entities, the police and the demonstrators, so nothing untoward happens.
Absolutely.
However, as we speak, the leadership of Parliament, the leadership of the demonstrators are in Parliament, and hopefully we'll get a connection to Eric Managbeta, so we get to hear what exactly the petition is entailed in that petition that is going to be handed to the leadership of Parliament. From there, they will be going to the EC office. We hope that before they get to the EC office, you know, there wouldn't be any sort of disagreement or chaos. So let's go to Parliament now, where I'm told that the General Secretary of the NDC, Fifi Fiavikwete, is speaking.
And everything is done possible to ensure that we can have a credible voters register in order to have election that will be transparent and fair. So just briefly, I'm going through about 10 main demands that we are making. One, asking for a bipartisan probe into the conduct of the Electoral Commission, leading to the recommendation of an independent forensic audit of the voters' register. Number two, we are asking for the immediate publication of forensic audit findings once that is conducted. Number three, we are asking for the re-exhibition of the register post-forensic audit. The NDC is completed. The next one is a review and correction of unauthorized transfers. Immediate steps must be taken to reverse any unauthorized vote transfers and restore the integrity of the voter transfer system. The next one, we are asking for the adoption of a revised timetable for electoral activities. Then, we are demanding for an emergency convening of all stakeholders. The Electoral Commission should urgently convene a meeting with all political parties, civil society organizations, and key international stakeholders, including the ECOWAS, the AU, the UNDP, the EU, USAID, and all others to discuss the forensic audit and ensure collective oversight of the electoral approach. Final one, we are asking for accountability and integrity measures across all the systems of the Electoral Commission. The EC must implement measures to prevent future manipulation of the voters' register. This will include a review of internal processes, improved transparency in voter registration and transfer system, and stricter protocol to safeguard the integrity of the voters' register. So these are some.
Right, we apologize for the freeze in the video, but what was happening there a few minutes ago, or as we speak, is the petition is being read out by Fifi Kwete, who is the General Secretary of the NDC, clearly just reiterating more or less their main concern that above all else, the voters' role needs some credibility, needs some auditing. That's what they are trying to tell the leadership of Parliament. And we could also see that the leadership of Parliament, leadership in quote, clearly there was the majority leader, who is one of the leaders of Parliament, the minority leader, Kesela Tufosi himself, also there. I'm sure he's torn between joining the demonstrators who are presenting the petition and also the leadership of Parliament who are receiving the petition. But he's also out there. We are unable to tell at the moment who else is amongst the leaders of Parliament yet to receive the petition. But the clerks of Parliament are also there. Definitely, they might also have a role to play over there. So that's what's happening in Parliament. And I'm sure that by the time Fifi Kwete is done with reading out content of the petition, they will be heading out to the premises of the Electoral Commission, where Beatrice Edu is stationed, gave indications earlier that she could hear the team coming. And I mentioned a few minutes ago that there seem to be two different groups now. One is in Parliament presenting the petition. The second is already in the area where the EC is also station, or where the Electoral Commission office is. So they are likely to have to wait for the leaders who are currently in Parliament to come there to the Electoral Commission premises to submit their petition. That is the final termination point of today's demonstration. And I'm sure that by the time they are done, the expectation would be that all across the regions, almost all the demonstrations would have ended and the petitions submitted to the various regional executives of the Electoral Commission across the country. So the Greater Accra region is the headquarters. If that is done, then maybe today's exercise would come to a conclusion. But we are yet to see or hear what's happening in Parliament regarding what the response will be from the leadership of Parliament. Who in Parliament will be reacting or responding to the demonstrators? Certainly, I can guess that they will say, thank you for bringing this to us. It is good you've drawn our attention to it. We will let the Speaker know about it, and then maybe Parliament can take some steps regarding that.
Absolutely.
As regards what exactly Parliament can do about this, in the coming days, we'll get to know going forward.
Indeed, and one of the things they've been asking for, as you see on your screens, is a 5-day re-exhibition of the voter register. Remember that this is a demand that they have made on the Electoral Commission before. The Electoral Commission has been asked about that. They said that would not be necessary, but the argument that has been made alongside that demand is that if you say you have corrected what we have presented to you, then we need to vet it again and see whether or not so has happened, and it shouldn't be just you giving it back to us. Let's put it out there for the people to go out there and see again, and I guess that's the point with that. But also what we have seen already, or so far, from the National Office of the Electoral Commission, where Martin, you've been saying that they will terminate right from delivering the petition in Parliament. We have seen that some of the protesters have made their way there already. We would understand what happened, because again, we've seen before protesters in the hands of demonstration, when they got to what should have been the termination, they were told they couldn't go there, and that resulted in a bit of engagement between the police and the protesters. Hopefully it's not the same thing we are seeing, that the police is changing their minds last minute. But let's find out from Beatrice Edu what's been happening there between the protesters and the police. Beatrice, what can you report?
I tell you, I hope you can hear me. It's been a difficult work for the police service here, trying to control the crowd. What I understand, and I'm sure you do know about it, that the leadership of the NDC has already presented a petition in Parliament. Now they are waiting, the crowd here are waiting for the leadership again, another set of leadership, to come and present a second petition to the Electoral Commission. I have here with me the former parliamentary candidate for the English Amanflo constituency for the NDC. He came in a bit earlier, even before the huge crowd arrived. And just want to find out from him briefly, really, what's happening. Okay, so we just saw Sammy Jampi coming here. If you could like to talk about the parliamentary candidate. But the communications officer of the NDC summit here, my name is Petition on TV3. You're live on TV3. We understand that you've already presented the petition in Parliament. Can you tell us more about it? And we also know that you're presenting another one.
Yes, we're coming. This is the end point of the demonstration, the frontage of the headquarters of the Electoral Commission. We have agreed on where exactly we are ending, and that is why I want to engage the police even before they get here.
Okay, but so far, how would you say the exercise has been?
Oh, the number of it has been overwhelming. It's been successful. No,
I remember prior to that, Johnson Esedum Katia charged the group to be peaceful. How would you say?
That's what you do, and then of course, come on, why have you blocked that? We drove here.
All right, so if you can hear me, and you just had the communications officer and saw him there communicating with police officers, he doesn't seem excited about the fact that some supporters and participants have been blocked coming here, but he's coming to the headquarters here to present another petition at the Electoral Commission. So you can tell that the conversation I was trying to have with him got truncated because he wants to get some clarification from the police officers as to why some supporters were blocked. I have the regional commander of the police here who is actually in charge of what's going on here. So would you like to talk to us live on the street? It's not time yet, he said. So we'll try and get to him when it is time per the calendar of the police. But this is basically what's happening here. The communications officer of the NDC summit is still trying to sort some things out with the police administration. I'll just give you a little bit in terms of what's going on here. I'm sure you can see him in the background trying to establish some understanding between the opposition NDC and the police administration right now. So he's passed through the double barricades that I talked to you earlier about, and then yet another one here, which is right in front of the Electoral Commission headquarters. So he's heading in there. Hopefully, other party members and leadership will join him, and they will present that petition. If you can hear me, I will just land here. We'll go back to that parliamentary candidate, former parliamentary candidate for English Amount Pro that we had intended to speak to, but basically this is what is happening. The police on the other side are still trying to control the crowd just so that there is orderliness with about, I can count about 2 barricades ahead of where we just got to. So that will be 3 with the police officers really ready, trying to prevent anybody from breaking the law, as it were.
And so, you know, earlier you were reporting that the police have brought in more personnel. You know, talk to us about that.
Yeah, so those are the, or should I say, these are the officers you see. I'm trying to get us a clearer picture of what's going on. I'm sure now you can have a good picture. So they've divided themselves into many divisions, I should say, with one just right here. Right after, which is handling the crowd directly. So this will be like the second barricade of police officers. There are some more where we've got to with Summit MP. And I was reporting earlier when we were doing the New Summit Day that there are a lot more who are also armed within the compound of the Electoral Commission. And so I can tell you that the police are really ready to ensure that this is incident-free as much as possible. So that's basically what's happening. As I speak to you, I can try and get you a video of it. Hopefully you can see it from afar. But earlier I talked about some armored vehicles, 2 of them, which are within the barricades where the police officers are, as well as what you can see in there. And as I speak to you, I'm not sure if it's that clear for you to see, but there are officers who are standing on top of the armored vehicles. I'm sure they might have some security reasons for standing on top of it, but they want to ensure there's a 360 security, as it were, for this protest. Of course, protection of property, protection of officers here, and also the people who are participating in this demonstration.
There were 2 barricades. Now you're reporting there are 3 of them?
I beg your pardon?
Well, I'm asking that earlier you reported that there were 2 barricades. Now you're saying that the police have increased the barricades to 3?
They have increased the barricades with more numbers. In fact, now I cannot say dozens. I can talk about hundreds because they are really a lot, with a lot more trying to handle the crowd. And then when you move a little bit from the crowd, you can see just a few officers, and then another huge barricade with, again, hundreds of officers, and then a third one, which I'm sure you can see in the background, before the armored vehicle, which is just right after the entrance of the Electoral Commission. And earlier, I also mentioned other barricades on the other side. So you can say that the Electoral Commission is surrounded by security officers at this moment. A lot more crowd are coming, a lot more people are coming in. I'm sure you can hear the loud music. It means that the police officers would have to do a lot more work than they are doing now with the crowd that they are currently dealing with.
I see. Does it appear there has been resolution as to where the protesters are supposed to be at this point?
Kemini, are you able to repeat that for me?
Absolutely. You know, earlier, Sami Jemfi was trying to, speak to the police officers regarding where the protesters could be. I'm asking if there has been any resolution between the NDC and the police as to where their protesters must be.
Indeed, I didn't hear all of that, but what I can say is that Sami Jemfi eventually, seemingly, per what I observed, resolved that, and he was accompanied to go in. Okay, I can actually see him coming back again. Let's see whether we can continue that conversation we started with him earlier. It doesn't seem like it's been completely resolved because he's still talking to the police officers. The initial understanding I had was that he was being ushered into the headquarters or the premises of the Electoral Commission, but it looks like there's still more discussion needed to be had. And let me just find out really what's happening. Sir, are you able to tell us what's really happening? Because earlier you were telling us that you were not happy. What's happening with you and the police?
We came here with the police to agree on the termination point. And as one of the organizers, I'm here even before the demonstrators get here to make sure that that arrangement has been respected. Unfortunately, the police has done something to the contrary and have engaged them. They have agreed. They are amending the blockade. But even where they are mounting the blockade, it's not an agreed point. So we'll wait for the leaders to come. Then we'll try and find an amicable solution. We don't want tensions to go up. We want the demonstration to be peaceful. As you can see, we've been to Parliament already. There was no violence. But what we will not tolerate.
You just had him there. He's still trying to resolve that. And yes, you just had him right there. So hopefully they are able to resolve that and everything goes on smoothly like I said, because so far it's been very smooth. And so what they do not want is violence.
Very well, Beatrice, thank you so much for the report. Beatrice Edu joined us from the Electoral Commission head office. Beatrice, just before we go, we've seen this before during the hands of demonstration. Protesters were unhappy about the last-minute change in where they were supposed to terminate. We saw a bit of a pushback. What are you seeing with this situation?
Okay, so I'm just trying to get a clearer picture of really what's going on. The barricade is that thick. But I can see that there is a gentleman who wants to address the press. We'll try and get that quickly for you, and perhaps I can give you a better understanding of what's going on.
Well, Beatrice Edu is joining us from the National Office of the Electoral Commission. What she's attempting to do is bring us a live address from a somebody she describes as a gentleman who's trying to speak to the press gathered there. But what we have picked up so far, what we have gleaned from the report so far is that there appears to be a change in the termination point for protesters. Again, I'm going to say we've seen this before, last-minute changes that have not been pre-communicated with the demonstrators, particularly in this case with the NDC. Protesters get to a point where they do not know as a termination point. They are later told you cannot go beyond this point. We saw the pushback that occurred during the hands-off demonstration. We're seeing a similar incident here. And from that report, the National Communications Officer of the NDC, Sami Jemfi, attempted an engagement with the police leadership gathered there at the EC headquarters. It would appear it was futile, for which reason the protesters are still at this new termination point. He told arbitrators to do that. Listen, we'll wait for the leadership of the party to get here and figure out the way forward, but this is not what the police informed us. This is not supposed to be the termination point. We'll get you a bit more on that. But what we also know, Martin, is that the police have increased the numbers there. Beatrice is saying, and indeed we also see from the pictures she sent us so far that hundreds of police officers are now gathered at the Electoral Commission. What used to be 2 barricades is now 3.
Probably even more.
Absolutely. 2 human barriers we know of, and then that metal barricade in between those 2 human barriers. Essentially, the police have beefed up the security there. They have increased their numbers. She reported earlier that 3 buses had come in with police personnel. Those are the people. And then she showed us also, really, that the first port of call, which is where the protesters are at the moment, where they have been stopped in their tracks, is the National Formed Police Unit. You saw the NFPU behind their jackets. Those are the people who are engaged in crowd control and the rest. And it's understandable that in the police strategy, they are the people in front. But the question then is, why does the police continue to change their minds last minute as to where the protesters terminate? They do not engage leadership while they're doing that, and then it causes some kind of confusion at the end of the day. That we have, confusion is what we haven't seen with this particular batch of protesters yet. But it would appear Beatrice is back over our connection. Beatrice, if you can hear us, you told us that someone was addressing the press. Talk to us about that.
It wasn't really an address, but as I speak to you, the Director of Elections for the NDC, Dr. Omaneboama, is also here. I'm not sure you can have a clear footage of what's going on because of the thick police barrier here, or human barrier here, and of course the barricade as well. But he's trying to get through as well, perhaps to find out what's going on. Sami Jemfi, as I speak to you, is still talking to the police officers here, the ones he was talking to earlier when I spoke with you. Omaneboama is at the second barricade, so obviously he successfully passed through the first thick one, and he is also trying to find out exactly what's going on. I'll try and get a bit closer to him, but he's behind the second barricade, so hopefully when he's allowed through, he'll be able to also tell us what's happening from where he is and what information he's gathered. But just take a listen to what's happening now. It looks like he's been allowed in.
Please keep coming. Private on the right, they keep coming. Keep coming. Now, hurry up.
So you can see the police officers moving there. They were behind the second barricade. Oh, I can also see John Chinapor as well, the ranking member on the Energy Committee of Parliament. He's behind the barricade. I'm sure you can see him. Hello, Doc. Good afternoon to you. You're live on TV3, really. Can you tell us what's going on?
Presently, we have presented a petition here to present a petition to the Electoral Commission. As we have said, the Electoral Commission opened office here. Many electoral times identified, but there was a slight clash. The issue is that we came to this very premise and agreed with the police exactly where the demonstration is. But we need to push the barricade forward. We have agreed, they've understood. I show them the exact location that we agreed on. Demonstration will terminate. That is why if you see them, they are retreating and leading these barricades. But the demonstrators move to the exact point that we are.
Now, Mr. MP, your communications director has been here for some time now. He's tried to have a conversation with the police officers. Do you have an idea, really, what he's been told? Okay, so I just got pulled away by the police officers. They want to have a conversation with Omane Buama, the director of elections. But I told you that John Jinafo is calling here.
Why? No, but they can't do that. And they are making they will not allow that. No, there's a termination point. The police should respect the termination point. It's as simple as that.
Okay, but
there's an agreed format. Somebody are withdrawing it. Then they should pull it back. It's as simple as that.
Okay, but we can still see some barricades.
They will have to pull it back. Once there was an agreement, let them follow the agreement. It's as simple as that. So,
and so you had the not so happy about what's going on. And so Dr. Edward Omanekwa, Director of Elections for the opposition NDC, joined by John Jinafo, the ranking member of the NDC, as well as Parliamentary. They are now having that communication with the police administration to try and resolve matters. But like you heard him say, indeed, the police barrier around the second barricade has been moved, and so all the officers who were there have been moved now to the third barricade, which is just about 50 or less meters to the electoral entrance of the Electoral Commission headquarters. So you can see that they're trying to have a communication with the police officers. Now, let's listen to a little bit and see what's really going on, and then we can continue with this conversation. So they are moving them in there. Hopefully they are able to resolve that and they can terminate properly as they've been wishing for.
But generally, you know, are things calm with the protesters at the moment?
Would you please repeat that?
I'm asking, how would you gauge the atmosphere between the protesters and the police?
Well, it's a bit charged here. I would say that not all of them are here, but I'm sure you can hear the sound there in the background, so they are becoming more and more. Hopefully it doesn't get violent, but you can feel the energy with which they are coming from wherever they've reached, but it sounds very, very close. And so the police officers are still prepared, just like they've been for the past few hours that I've been here. So it looks like whatever the case, they'll be able to face them. And so they are coming in. As I'm talking to you right now, Kemini and Martin, I can see from afar, just right behind the second barricade, which has not been completely removed, except the police officers who are away. The minority leader, Dr. Kaisel Atoforthing, is coming in. Also, I can see Fifi Kwete, the General Secretary of the NDC, coming in. You'll shortly see them in the footage, as well as actually one of the, so I can see Fifi Kwete, like I just said, former National Security Coordinator, Beblo Latte is here with them. Minority Leader Kaisel Atoforthing, Johnson Asiedun Ketia, the chairman of the party. So that should tell you that really the leadership, as it were, is here to ensure the right thing is done. Let me just have, let you have a look at what's going on.
I see. We see the chairman there making his way after the barricade, walking perhaps through to the next one.
I mean, before the protest started, I remember you telling them that they should be careful, they should not be violent, that they obey.
You do your observations. If you are the two amendment, saying that you can allow no people to yes, so you can allow at least 50 of the leaders to go inside. Listen, if they can allow at least 50 of the the first issue is that we came here physically to agree on the endpoint. The endpoint was the first thing. But we thought that leadership will be selected to go inside. Now they say the EC leadership won't come and meet us. But we are not happy with where they are headed because it is too far away from the country. So we are saying that two options. Either they take us forward a bit or they should allow a good size of leadership to go forward so that we can do a presentation. But that is far removed from it.
Want the see that we are the issue. They are not the leaders and how about the media?
No, 55. We can't control people. Because I mean, we are not a threat to. They are MPs. Okay, 30, compromise 30. 30, no, 30. Hey, what about the national chairman and the general secretary must go first? The director of election and who come. Then I'll point the rest.
So, General, what about the media?
It's already been.
No, thanks. So I'm sure you've seen what's just transpired. There has been some agreement. The NDC wanted to have about 50 leaders go into the Electoral Commission premises, but there was just a quick agreement there that only 30 will be allowed. And so they ushered in the chairman of the party, Johnson Asedum Petia, followed by the general secretary, PP Kwete, of course, accompanied by the minority leader, former national security coordinator, Colonel Larry Bedolate, who is with them. Earlier, I had told you that some other leaders, including Summit MP, had been there, and so they are still here, and they're going in there to be able to present their petition. And we can see the Director of Legal Affairs, Tamako, coming in. Hello, it's been a long day for you, I guess.
And the demonstration, they have done so well. It's been peaceful. We are finally at the Electoral Commission, as you can see, and so far, so good. We have a very humble appeal. Audit, 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 audit. We are not living here until there is a firm commitment by the Electoral Commission to audit.
Thank you.
And you see, our claim is not frivolous. The Electoral Commission itself admits that, in fact, there are problems with the region, except to say that they will work on it. My lady, where is the assurance that they will do it? The person who created the problem is assuring you that he will solve the problem. If you go and sleep, don't come and blame anybody. And that is why we are saying, our deep prayer is that Madame Jane Mensah and her commission, look, this Electoral Commission should be the commission that should open itself up for transparency. And you know what? You have a situation where in 2020, at the Electoral Commission Regional Coalition Center, the person who represented Nanado Danko Kufa, Dr. Apian, today is a commission. This is the commission that you rather open up. Thank you.
All right, so switched away. Eddie Tamako, the Director of Elections for the position NDC. I suppose he's one of the 30 leaders who have been allowed to go into the Electoral Commission to present that final petition, which will terminate this demonstration. Enough is enough. Protest calling for an audit of the electoral roll ahead of the December 7th general election.
I see. Looks like more and more will be streaming there. We're going to keep the link on with you, as we see people stream in. But Beatrice, while the executives are streaming in, talk to us about what the protesters are doing, because with the chunk of the executives there now, it would mean that they have come along with them more protesters. How is that playing out?
No, they are not with them. The executive, as I speak to you, the executives are currently, they have passed. Oh, okay. So I'm just realizing that they've removed the second barricade here. So now it's left with the first one, which is about almost 200 meters away from the Electoral Commission headquarters entrance. So now there is one almost 200 meters away from the Electoral Commission headquarters, and a second one, which is where Ediji Tamaklo is, together with the chairman, the general secretary of the party, as well as the minority leader, Dr. Kesel Atopos. So I'm just drawing a bit closer to the very first barricade, which, like I just said, is about 200 meters up it. I don't have him was inside, but apparently he's here, and he's just moving away. I'm sure you can see him in the shot just very briefly. We've already interacted with him, so I'll let him go. But I'm just going to the crowd again, where the first barricade is, with a lot of police officers here just around that barricade trying to control the crowd. But I'm not sure. See, a number of the protesters are currently sitting on a wall of a building which is currently under construction. They are having their placards with them, a number of inscriptions on them. The one that is very close to me, just by the barricade, the Jean Mensah-led EC is worse than Galamsey. There's another one. There can be no peace without justice. I'm trying to read it while a bit far from them. And then there's another one. EC's ears are like, okay, that's a bit of an insult. I'm sorry, I can't read that. And then there is forensic audits. I can't see the rest of it because of the barricade and the crowd here. But I should tell you that the police administration is trying as much as it can. I'm just trying to show you what is going on. The police officers are trying as much as they can to ensure that they keep the people where they ought to be. Like I told you earlier, and I'm sure you watched it right there, when Sami Jemfi, the communications officer of the NDC, the chairman of the party, Johnston Asiedun Katia, general secretary, also behind him, minority leader, Dr. Kesel Atopos, when they were having that negotiation with the police administration, they wanted about 50 of the leaders to come in. They've arrived at 30. And so I suspect that the police would ensure, together with the NDC leadership, that the numbers that they've agreed on will be those who will come in. So as we have it now, the protesters are outside, and the police officers are ensuring that there is law and order. I can see somebody with a Ghana flag. I don't know whether you can see that person a bit far from the barricade here, which is the main barricade, the #1 barricade where I'm standing, with hundreds of police.
Well, I hope that we haven't lost Beatrice on that connection, because it's important, Martin, to find out whether or not space was made for the media to go beyond that last, barrier or barricades the police put up to be able to cover the petitioning of the Electoral Commission. It would appear Beatrice is back. Beatrice, if you can hear us, I'm asking whether or not any room was made for the media to be able to join the leadership of the NDC as they petition the Electoral Commission.
What we're being told is that we have to wait a little bit whilst the NDC leadership goes in there to try to sort out whatever ought to be sorted out. But as I'm speaking with you, really, I'm just trying to draw a bit closer. I can still see it looks like the leadership of the party is seemingly unhappy again, talking to the media. I just want to draw a little bit closer so I get to understand exactly what's going on. But Sami Jemfi, the communications officer, is in the midst of them, and we don't know what's really happening there. But aside from him, I cannot see any other leader. I suppose that whoever ought to go in has gone in. And I think, okay, so what I'm seeing actually is Sami Jemfi trying to ensure that only the approved leaders, quote unquote, are able to get in. So just watch what's happening.
Yeah, so that's Beatrice Edu, who has been keeping us up to date with developments at the premises of the Electoral Commission. It's been very busy, very busy in and around the Electoral Commission premises. And
is that Mustafa Gbandi? That is the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, I'd like to believe. Obviously, standing. So
yeah, we seem to have different footage, but what you see so now is what Beatrice is showing us, and you can see that some members of the NDC who have been allowed through the first barricade are headed towards the entrance of the Electoral Commission. And from her earlier report, we could tell that the NDC managed in the last few minutes to negotiate with the police officers there that allow at least 30 leaders of the NDC to make their way into the premises of the Electoral Commission so we can present the petition. And that seemed to have been agreed to. So we are looking forward to hearing, hopefully the media was allowed inside so that we will be able to hear exactly what the NDC petitioners would be giving to the EC, and then eventually would also hear the EC's response. Information we've also gotten indicate that the headquarters of the EC had given a direct order to all their regional and district officers that they should only receive the petition but not make any public comment or utterance regarding the petition, because they cannot purport to speak for the headquarters or the chair of the commission. So it looks as though the final word or position of the EC regarding this demonstration and the call for an audit would have to come from the chair herself, or at least any of her deputies.
Indeed, and what we know at the moment is that Samuel Tete, Deputy Commissioner, will be the one receiving the petition. He's the man in the grey,
Kaftan?
Is it a kaftan or political suit? Yeah. Yes, I mean, either way,
he's clearly differentiated from the group.
Absolutely, he's wearing the grey, facing the camera at the moment, or in the pictures on your screens. In a tad, Beatrice should join the team there and bring us a bit more on that as she makes her way beyond the barricade and speaking to people along the way. But Sami Jemfi is on your screens at the moment, obviously very unhappy. Beatrice, if you're still with us, can you tell us why Sami Jemfi is still unhappy despite the petitioning almost being delivered by Chairman Asiedu Nketia to Samuel Tete?
Now, it looks like the police is listening to the call of the NDC, and he's heard actually, I guess one of the commanders here telling all the police officers to bring the barricade. So actually, you can see them bringing them in. Hopefully you can see, just trying to let you see what's going on. They are bringing them into one place. I'm sure you can see right here.
Yes. So what we are seeing is that the barricade is being moved forward.
So they are bringing all the barricades to one place.
Yes, you can go on, Beatrice. So they can allow the protesters to come a bit forward, right?
Until these barricades were brought in, this very place that they are bringing in these barricades used to be like the last barrier, as it were, before you get to the entrance of the headquarters of the Electoral Commission. So now they've brought the barricades here. But let me tell you that the barricades have been brought here, but the police officers are still there. So that still forms like the first barrier. I'm sure you can see it in the background. That forms like the first barrier. And then there's a second barrier with barricades right here. And so that's what's going on. Sami Jemfi, I heard him briefly, he's still not happy about the barricades. But hopefully they are able to sort out their issue. And this is able to, this will end as they expect it to end. Well, you can hear the crowd in the background. It looks like they are allowing some of them to come in. I just want you to take a listen and really look at what's going on, and I will continue with what I'm trying to tell you.
Absolutely, and Beatrice will keep that footage unlocked just for a little bit, because what we're doing here at your election command center is bringing you sight and sound from different points of the protests at the Electoral Commission, inside and in the neighborhood of the Electoral Commission. Where Beatrice is at the moment is with the formed police unit and the crowd, who have now been given some room to move forward. We'll tell you more about that as you see that on your screen. The other point is where Eric Mawena Egbeta is at the moment, where executives of the NDC have been allowed to move beyond the final barricade and go into the premises of the Electoral Commission to deliver that petition they plan to give to Jean Mensah, who is Chief Commissioner at the Electoral Commission. Samuel Tete, Deputy Commissioner, is the one receiving that petition from the NDC. Recall that in Parliament, the General Secretary, Fifi Fiavik Kwete, was the one who presented it. Over here, it would seem that the chairperson, Johnson Esiedun-Ketia, also known as General Mosquito, will be the one presenting the petition right in front of the premise of the Electoral Commission's head office here in Accra. Listen, if you had seen the visuals earlier, you see that there are, a number of the staff of the Electoral Commission who are up on their floors outside of their offices viewing this. But let's link up to Beatrice now. Beatrice is reporting some engagement between the protesters and the police. Beatrice, go ahead.
Of the Electoral Commission.
Yes.
Go ahead. We're listening to you now. What's happening?
So you can see on your screens, what you have on your screens now, I'm sure, is the leadership of the NDC getting ready to make the presentation to the EC chair. But earlier, Beatrice was reporting that the metal barricades had been moved away and the police contingent facing the demonstrators were taking backward steps to allow gradually the demonstrators to come a bit closer to the second barricade area. So at least some form of understanding seemed to have been reached between the factions, which is the police and the demonstrators, although the leadership have already been allowed to go into the premises of the Electoral Commission. And so we are alternating the shots so you are also in the know of what exactly is happening. I'm sure in the next few minutes, Johnson Esiedun-Ketia, national chairman of the NDC, will start speaking. A few minutes ago, you also saw in your shot the EC executive who is there to represent the commission to receive the petition on behalf of the commission. So we are definitely keeping you updated, bringing you live pictures of what has gone on since 6 a.m. And we seem to be in the dying embers of today's major demonstration, which was across the country. We touched base with our regional correspondents who all gave us updates of how it panned out where they were. But here in the national capital, we are also keeping very close tabs on the last few minutes of the presentation of the petition to the EC officials. And you can tell that these are the creme of the NDC leadership, from national chairman to general secretary to national organizer to minority leader to the deputies and some members of parliament who have been allowed through a very strict barricade put up by the Ghana Police Service. And the police may or almost marred what many have described as a very peaceful exercise throughout the day, when they almost always change their position in the last minute of demonstrations or protests, because the earlier agreed end of the demonstration had been changed by the police without proper communication to the NDC. But because of the ability of what Sami Jemfi was able to do and finally reporting to the national chairman and leadership of the party, the police seem to have amended their earlier position and have allowed some of them to come in closer. So when we do eventually get to hear what they have to say, we'll bring that to you as well. But I get the sense that Johnson Essiedu-Nketia is just about speaking. So we are crossing over to that feed where Eric Monaghan and the team are reporting for us. So let's listen in now.
You are here, but we would have preferred
the exact words of Johnson Essiedu-Nketia, if we're able to establish some clear connection to a reporter and microphones which have been positioned in front of Johnson Essiedu-Nketia, so we will be able to hear him clearly as he reads out portions of the content in their petition that they intend to hand over to the Electoral Commission. So let's see if we have a clearer audio to what Johnson Essiedu-Nketia is saying.
Perhaps what. Well, can we get the audio now? If we cannot, what we want to show you, remember that I was telling you that we have round-the-clock coverage of this demonstration. One team with Johnson Essiedu-Nketia, where he's presenting the petition to the Electoral Commission, Samuel Tete, and then we also have Beatrice embedded in the crowd, gathered in the the environment of the Electoral Commission. We want to take you there now, Beatrice, and if you can hear us, it would appear that the protesters are chanting. Talk to us about that.
To just listen to them a little bit, and I'll tell you more what happened before this time.
Well, indeed, Beatrice Eju there telling us that the protesters have begun to talk. As you can see, people are, throwing their fists in the air. My guess is they're chanting some kind of song. Remember that this was not supposed to be the termination point. It is the renegotiated termination point, far from what was agreed upon based on what the executives of the NDC have been telling us, but also an improvement upon where the police had wanted them to terminate when they got to the Electoral Commission. Also, we know that right at this minute, that petition making demands on the Electoral Commission is being laid or delivered to the Electoral Commission at the moment. Let's listen in.
Number one, permit an independent forensic audit at the Commission's IT system.
For the breaking sound there, but the General Secretary and the National Chair and the other leaders of the NDC are the EC premises. We will do our best to give you the audio. So let's see if we can hear what exactly Johnson Essiedu-Nketia is saying. Almost every time we make that connection, the feed seems to freeze, but I'm hoping that now we can hear what exactly the
Demand that the Commission convene. Number two, stakeholders. We demand that the Commission convene stakeholders for collaboration. Convene a meeting. The Electoral Commission should urgently convene a meeting with all political parties and key civil society organizations and key international stakeholders, including ECOWAS, who are found of the only military when help us take crisis. We want them to come and help us take preemptive actions against the crisis that Africa Union, UNDP, Africa Union, UNDP, European Union, the British and USAID, the British High Commission, the forensic and others, and to discuss the forensic audit and ensure collective oversight of our electoral process. We demand that the electoral commission will agree to publish. We demand that the electoral commission will agree to publish the findings of any such and make them public forensic audits and make them public to ensure transparency and available to ensure fairness, transparency, accountability, fairness, and integrity of the 2024 if the findings of the forensic audit, if the findings of the forensic audit suggest, as we believe, that the register has been badly exhibition, then we demand that there will be a re-exhibition of the register after the forensic. Everything that we will be able to check everything that has gone wrong in the register and prepare ourselves for a credible election. We want the Commission to review and correct all the unauthorized transfers which they themselves have admitted to. We want them to adopt a we don't have a credible register, and printing of ballot papers and other activities are based on a credible voter register. So we think that this forensic audit we must get a credible register acceptable to all stakeholders before the other activities such as printing and finally, we want the Commission to institute accountability and integrity measures to ensure that what we are witnessing now will never happen in the operations. It has never happened. So whatever has compromised your systems, it is in your interest that we all correct it, and then you can restore your integrity, and we can have confidence in the electoral. So, on behalf of the National Democratic Congress, we want to hand over the petition to
hello. Please position well so that we can get it. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Try 1, 2. Please, can you pass the mic on? Welcome you to the public release of proclamation on behalf of the Commission. I will assure you
the original directors have not the country commission. If we don't see action, the next time we are going to present. So, gentlemen, I want you to know the commissioner who is receiving the petition on our behalf. Your name?
My name is Samuel Tete, the Deputy Chairman in charge of operations.
Samuel Tete, Deputy Chairman of the Commission in charge of operations. It is his office that deals actually. Thank you very much. We hope that you also will make your own work easier by ensuring that you live by your motto of transparency and integrity. Thank you.
Samuel Tete, Deputy Chair in charge of operations of the Electoral Commission. It's been a tough, long day for the NDC, and it looks as though now we are in the final moments of the presentation of the petition, which primarily borders on the concerns they have about Ghana's electoral roll or the voters register. They want an audit, and coincidentally, I'm sure Sedun Ketia amongst others will be happy that it was not handed to just any officer of the EC, but to the man in charge of operations, where a lot of this actually fall in terms of the electoral process itself, the build up to it, and then on the day of voting, that is also under the remit of the operations office. So,
and also, this is really important because then you recall that when the Electoral Commission had to react to, let's take a listen to Mawana Egbeta as he wraps up on the coverage on the ground. I'll come back and tell you why this is really important. Let's take a listen now.
We will seek to address the supporters because there are some speakers and others are present here as well. Let's try hear from Johnson Sedun Ketia just briefly, and then get the indication he is seeking to move towards the crowd a bit, and so that is what is currently happening. The chair of the NDC, Johnson Sedun, this way back to where you find the hundreds of party supporters who are behind the police barricade, as you'd have it. And in your shots right now, I'm sure you can see that for yourself. A number of them with placards. EC's ears are like, will it too hard for our young democracy? The Jean Mensa-led EC West and Galamsey. Let's try now and take a listen to Johnson Sedun Ketia seek to address the supporters of the NDC who are here in their numbers, and they'll seek to bring the very loud speakers who have accompanied the protest a lot closer, and then make it as part of the protest, will get the opportunity to hear from their party leadership who've submitted the petition to them, and possibly on the way forward as well in relation to what we have witnessed today. It's been a long, busy day, different points in time.
Feed again, but the leadership of the NDC, as is the norm for every protest, are addressing the protesters there, their sympathizers, members, and Ghanaians who have gathered to support this protest. Enough is enough demonstration. We expect them to address them, thanking them for coming out in their numbers, also thanking the people across the country. And we'll go back there briefly when we get that connection with Eric Mawana Egbeta. But just gone by is that petition presentation. The keystone of what they have done today is to present that petition to the National Office of the Electoral Commission. It was received by Deputy Commissioner Samuel Tete, and as you saw there, or if you didn't see, I'm telling you now, that the the NDC National Chairperson made sure that Samuel Tete mentioned his name. He also said, besides reiterating the demands they are making, that it's important that he knows that if this is done right, it makes his job easier as Deputy Commissioner in charge of operations. And Martin, I was telling you earlier why Samuel Tete being the one to receive the petition is also really important in this entire process, because you recall that Samuel Tete has been the one responding to the NDC's demands that they have been making on the Electoral Commission. He's the one to have made the comment about why the NDC didn't pass or demand an audit of the register when there were trees and animals used as photographs for people. The very unfortunate comment, widely condemned by, you know, CSOs and those who have criticized the Electoral Commission as far as this process is concerned. But also that finishing comment that you know, Esiedun Ketia passes to Samuel Tete. Obviously, he didn't say much. He only said that you're welcome, thank you for bringing this. But he, you know, that comment is something that Samuel might think about just a little bit, because he says that if this goes well, it makes your job easier. I don't know anybody in the world who doesn't want an easier job. Or an easier done job, right? I mean, we've been sitting here the last few hours. If we could make this any easier, we would, right? And so that's a really, you know, closing remark that he makes there to Samuel Tete, that, you know what, think about this yourself. Perhaps this could make your job easier as well. It's now left for us to hear what the Electoral Commission says, because as you well know, they have said we will do this ourselves. We don't need an external, you know,
eye to look through the register. And I mean, I totally agree with the point you make, that above all else, it is the chair in charge of operations. You are going to do the final legwork of whatever brainstorming or agreements that the leadership of the Electoral Commission would have come to. So, I mean, like I indicated, I'm sure Esiedun Ketia and everyone that turned up there will be happier that it was to address. And like you indicated, we are waiting to hear what the EC's position will be. At first,